I believe you are coming to us from Louisiana. I'm not so far away from Chris, who's always coming to us from Dallas, and I'm here in DC. We're really excited today to welcome a friend of ours named Austin Foster. He's the beverage director of the Diving Elk, fellow squirrel, great tales and convention fan and friend. And he's the proprietor of his own tiny bars at home, the Reading Room in Illo, Hale. Welcome, Austin Foster.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, baby?
My video going here. All right. Hello. We're doing great.
It's good
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. You want to just introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself, Austin?
Sure. So my name's Austin. I live in Sioux City, Iowa. Actually, I live on the South Dakota side. So Sioux City is where Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota meet. It's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle of culture. Like culture enters, it disappears. It's amazing. I say that jokingly. I've enjoyed it. I've been here for about 4.5 years now. I get the opportunity to pour drinks at a cool space in town. That's on the Iowa side, called the Diving Elk. One small edit: my girl Katie Meyer is doing the beverage director stuff there now, and she is crushing the game. So, but all in, it's a super small team. We're the only fresh juice program in like 90 miles. Really good at doing good cocktails and bringing a good spirit to the area here. And that's kind of it currently.
That's awesome. I think
I could ramble on and on though.
Maybe just share with our folks at home how you got, how your career kind of brought you to Sioux City and your kind of path into the beverage world.
Sure. So I have tended bar on and off my entire life. I just crossed over the 40 mark, so I've been doing it for a long time. But I ended up stepping into cocktail bartending seriously about probably closing in on 6 or 7 years ago now in Milwaukee, and had the opportunity to pour some good drinking cup in Milwaukee. A lot of good friends and homies there. If you don't know, Milwaukee is kind of like a northern suburb of Chicago, so it's a good place to get some good drink and food. About 4.5 years ago, though, what kind of sparked our move to the Sioux City area was my ma passed away, unfortunately, and my dad's still trying to figure out life after ma. I've got 4 knucklehead kids, if you can believe this, so 21, 17, 12, and 8. And my estimation, it really doesn't hurt them one dang bit to help out on the farm and throw some hay bales and things of that nature. So my dad living in northern Iowa, we moved to the Sioux City area, and that's kind of where I got the opportunity to hang out with the folks at the Diving Elk. CJ Prayer is the owner there, and the entire crew there has just been fantastic. So they've allowed me to do some really cool and weird things, and it's made moving to this smaller area exciting because we're usually the ones that are turning people on to the first proper classic cocktail that they've had, and that's kind of a cool space to be, especially coming from markets that are really used to a certain caliber of drink or cocktail. So that might put a little bit more information behind it, Kelly.
Right on. So, I live in Dallas, and I have a very large area, but I have found, just like you said, I'll go out to, like say Bridgeport, which is an hour away from Dallas. And I feel like the reason a lot of these people are, one, they're getting turned on to these really awesome, well-made cocktails, but 2, they don't have to drive, 45 minutes to go get that cocktail and then be drunk and drive home. So, I think that's really kind of where people are starting to move into that spot and into that space now, right?
Legitimately, you can get anywhere in this tri-state area, at least in our city area here, inside of 15 minutes.
Oh,
So it is legitimately that kind of smaller community. I think all in surrounding towns and everything else were probably about 80K. So a little bit, enough folks to be interested in something like that, and but still small enough for those folks to where their only drink experience like that was coming to Dallas or going to Chicago or going, out east or out west. So it's a cool privilege, I think, anyway.
Sweet. So first and foremost, what's up, baby? It's good to see you as always.
See you, bro.
And second, man, so you have an immense collection of bottles behind you. When you are just kind of chilling and you're sitting at the house and you're not making a blue blazer or something like that really cool, what are you sipping
Trying
on?
to set my house on fire.
What are you sipping on? What's one of your, give me 3 of your go-tos, because I'm pretty sure you have quite a few.
Right. So I think the spirit that's consumed most in this house, family-wide, is gin. Just spirit-wise, I think gin, even with all of the whiskey that's behind me, hits it. But right now, it kind of goes with, it kind of goes in a cycle. It rotates a lot, right? So right now I'm drinking a lot of rum. Really kind of diving into that. And here in our area, we actually brought in our first store pick or barrel pick of rum here recently, and we're going to kind of continue that trend and bring in some more cool rum. Working with Maggie Campbell to bring a cool rum to the state here. Rum is kind of sitting up there as the day-to-day sipper. I'm a malt whiskey guy, so Scotch whiskey is kind of the staple in there. But I will tell you that I've kind of dove into American whiskey in the last probably 4 or 5 years. Definitely since I've moved to Sioux City here, and that gets heavy rotation as well. So everything, I guess.
That's amazing. You mentioned doing barrel picks. I know that you have, if you wanted to talk a little bit about the whiskey club that that was so lucky to be able to join,
Yeah.
and what it's like to be able to, in a tri-state area of different types of, ordering in states, what it's like to be able to pull a barrel through, or how you go about building a collection that big behind you within the laws of these different jurisdictions.
So this right here is ridiculous, right? So there's a lot of spirit. I think we're closing in on about 1,000 bottles. A lot of inventory. But the fact of the matter is, I was a part of a couple of whiskey clubs in Milwaukee, and we had the opportunity to drink through a lot of spirits. So the guys at Whiskey Head, and then we had another club called Dram It. And this is, it's a selection, not a collection, because we drink a selection, right? But it's it's years and years. Like I've been a whiskey enthusiast for probably the better part of 10 or 12 years. And you kind of get to that point in the bottle where you're like, I want to share this with someone else, so I'm not gonna finish this. And then whenever you move, it just becomes a problem, because you're looking for liquor boxes to move them. So I would say that it comes over time, and really just kind of being an enthusiast in it. People like yourselves get folks excited about spirit, and you're like, oh man, I'd like to try that. The problem with where I'm at, you kind of alluded to it, is our market, because it's so small, we don't get a tremendous amount of brand love, which means that I'm the guy, or my the folks that I work with are the folks that are doing that education for consumers, right? And it's nice to be able to have a lot of spirit that you can't get, so you can start bringing more stuff in. And I think that that's the reason for the enormous amount, but the amassing it is just over time, and then love from folks like yourself and friends, you know.
That's cool. So you said you've been into whiskey for about 10 or what'd you say, for about 12 years now. Do you think what was it that kind of put you on that path for whiskey, and then what kind of made you make the turn into gin? Because, you know, kind of touching on that you know, because I love gin. I will nail a gin and tonic any day.
Right. You know, I think it's I always look at these things as kind of it's kind of a continuum, right? In terms of like your journey and spirit. How I started into whiskey was not the right way to start into whiskey, right? I was a young man. I wore the uniform for a lot of years. So I was Air Force for a lot of years. So I was stationed in Turkey, and I was a young man, all of 20. And I told my wife, I said, "Wife, I'd like to drink Scotch whiskey." She said, "Why do you want to do that?" And I said, "Because people that drink Scotch whiskey are fucking cool." And she rolls her eyes and she says, "Whatever." And I said, "You know what else really cool people that drink Scotch whiskey do?" And she said, "What?" And I said, "They smoke cigars." And she said, "Leave me alone." So I went to my local class 6 on base, determined to pick up a bottle of whiskey, Scotch whiskey no less. And I bought myself a bottle of Scotch whiskey that came in a box that had a glass with it, because I needed a glass as well.
Cool.
And what I didn't know was really anything beyond what was on the label that said Scotch. It ended up being a Bamor 12. And that's not generally, like Illo is not generally where people start their Scotch whiskey journey, but it is where this guy wanted to, I guess. And then since I was living in Turkey, I didn't know anything about cigars. Not that the more you know, I mean, we all find out the more you learn about something, the less you know. But I knew nothing. But I knew that the best cigar was, do you have any guesses?
A Cuban?
A Cuban cigar, exactly. So I went off base and I bought myself the biggest, thickest, blackest Maduro wrappered Cuban cigar I could find. And I brought that stuff home and I was ready. I pulled that glass out of the brand new box. I didn't even have to wash it because I was pouring whiskey into it. And I poured some whiskey into that glass and I nosed into it. Oh my God. Oh, that smells like a burning hospital. Oh, that is terrible. And then how it went, because my wife's here viewing me. I said, I'm going to try it. It'll probably be better when I taste it. And I pinched my nose. Not better. So much not better. But I realized I didn't have the cigar, so I likely needed the cigar as well. And I didn't have a cutter or anything like that, so I had a steak knife and I mangled the end of the cigar, blew it out at the end. And then I realized at this point in time that I had never learned how to use a match properly, because it took me about 15 minutes to get that sucker lit. And when I did, I inhaled to my toes. And I had the cigar and I had this whiskey and I said, "Sheila, this is the worst thing I've ever done. I'm turning green over here." And she said, "Oh no, you're going to drink that whiskey and you're going to smoke that cigar because we can't afford this shit." And that was kind of my entry into Scotch whiskey and cigars. So it was years later, I kind of stepped into a different, I had a Belvini 12, just a double wood. And I was like, oh, I could see where maybe someone else might like this. And then I had a Highland Park years later and I was like, oh, maybe I like this, right? Kind of the similar thing with cigars. Like I had a lighter or more mild Macanudo. And I was like, oh man, smoking this doesn't make it feel like a cat took a shit in my mouth. So you kind of start that journey, and you kind of as you move through that, you get the opportunity to taste more things, and the more you taste, the more you understand it, and the better you can predict what that's going to be. So that, I know that's super long-winded, but I think that's important, because how you begin your journey into spirit or into whiskey is really based upon what you know. And I take it very seriously to kind of educate people, help people have a good experience, because there's no reason, this is all gasoline, right? There's no reason for it other than having a good time, sharing good stories and enjoying good people. There's no reason for it otherwise, right? So why not ensure that that drink experience is, it's something you can kind of tiptoe into. Super long-winded, like I said, but that's kind of where the whiskey journey started to take a stumble, and then over a few years kind of took off from there.
Right. So now, you have a love for whiskey and all spirits, clearly. So, again, do you find yourself wanting to make drinks at home? Because I can tell you, like, as a bartender, I have yet to make a cocktail at home in forever. But, for the people that don't know, first, will you let them know where they can follow you on Instagram? Because you make some dope stuff. And second, what's one of your favorite, like, cocktails to make when you're at home?
So I'm Dram Shame on Instagram, Dram_Shame. And from a cocktail standpoint, I love it. It's kind of in the blood. You're absolutely right. After you've been rocking long shifts and stuff like that, it's hard to want to come home and make drink. But COVID times gives you a chance to knock the rust off. So at home when I'm making cocktails, if I'm making proper cocktails, a lot of daiquiris, a lot of gimlets, a lot of Vucarays, so many Vucarays and Sazeracs. So relatively simple fare, but I've kind of used that time to better myself or better my own technique by watching a lot of other plenty more talented folks than myself, like yourself, Mo, or shit, anyone on the panel here, and try to replicate it, right? So mostly DACs, some boozy stirred drinks, nothing too crazy typically.
Normal bartender stuff.
Yeah. I actually know there is one thing that I do that probably isn't, because I'm a garbage human. So
aren't we all though? Come on, Big Papa. We're all garbage humans, Daddy.
We talked about gin, right? So the way that we consume most of the gin in the house is gin and Monster Energy White. There's something with that chemically grapefruit thing that goes on in that Monster Energy White with juniper that to me is like, oh, this is like a heart place. So I would say that gets the most run in the house.
So I want to ask you now. You said it was a heart place, but does it make your heart burn? Is my question, because you threw on that energy drink in there, baby. How you doing? You okay? Can you drink more than one? Can you only have one of those things? Like, what's the safety label on that?
I appreciate you, Mo. That's just good looking out. You know what? I'm going to take better stock of that now that you bring it up. I never considered it could be bad for me. So.
So you just your son you mentioned just turned 21, and so now I'm curious as to what you did on his 21st birthday, or if his first drink with you was a gin and Monster Energy.
Oh man, it was actually pretty great. So in this house, drinking is not taboo. It's really education, right? So our first legal drinks stateside that we had, it was actually at a buddy of mine's bar in Sioux Falls. We went up and he actually opened a space a little bit early since I had some time constraints, and we slammed a DAC together, and then we had a Sazerac right at the bar there. So that was the first drinks. Then I said, "Hey, Connor, my eldest is Connor." I said, I'd like to go out with you. Let's go out tonight." And he's like, "Dad, I don't know." I said, "Dude, this is not negotiable. We're going to learn some things in our area." So I went to a few spots in the area here, Diving Elk obviously being one of them. He was in the dish pit for like 2 years there. So he was like, "Man, it's kind of nice being on this side of it." And I said, "Yeah, it's a little different than being in the pit." But we ended up at a kind of a divey bar here called Workin' Church. And this kind of comes back around to the gin thing. So when you're a young human, I see people that hit this 21 point. They scan the back of the bar. They're like, "Okay, I've been offered a shot. I need to do a shot. I don't want to do anything that I'm not familiar with." So I just did a shot of whiskey. My son's girlfriend had a shot of Malibu. And Connor looks at the bar and he's like, "Oh, Bombay, I'll do a shot of gin." I was like, "Oh shit. Like this, we are fast tracking this night."
Right. Hot gin.
Yeah. So my buddy Mac there, he was like, "I've never seen that. Person on his 21st birthday just ordered a shot of gin." And I'm like, "Yeah, you kind of go with what you've had or what you know." It was the funniest shit.
That's funny. That is some fun shit, actually. So so is your son, is he working in the industry as well? Is he trying to follow in your footsteps? Or are you like, no, you can work until you get out of school and then you're going to do something else?
I think that everyone's journey is different, right, Chris? I mean, you kind of, the one thing I've learned is these kids don't listen to you, especially after they get past a certain age.
Oh, yeah.
You've kind of done everything you can for them. You become more the counsel than the authority. So right now he's working through and doing some things. He's actually working with another friend of mine at a car dealership right now, doing all the life stuff. He's just now old enough to step back. He used to bar back for me a little bit, but he's still in that figure out the journey sort of thing. And I'm happy with whatever direction he goes. Yeah. You figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have a few kids of my own, and I definitely, I'm like, "No, you're going to work in the industry at least until you're done, with school or something, so you can learn humility."
No, but that's
right.
That's a good. Actually, that's a great point, though, Chris. I mean, because you're right. I mean, I do believe that everyone should. So I was in the service, so I'm a big proponent of people spending some time in the military service as well, and obviously service industry. And I think you just gain a great amount of respect for what actually goes on, right? How this stuff happens and the humans that do it, and then kind of how some of the folks in our industry get treated. The second you've worked in it, your mindset changes. So I like what you said there, because that is kind of that's a good way to put it. Hey, get out here, learn some things that other folk do, and appreciate it. That's really the reason we came back to the Midwest here, because or further into the Midwest here, just so my kids could have a little bit more of that work ethic sort of piece behind it.
Sweet.
Good call.
So, okay, you're making your own whiskey, right? Are you making a bourbon? Are you making a single malt? What's the name of it? And what kind of barrels are you finishing your booze in?
You know, I like that question. That's a dope question, Mo. That's hard, right? I like rye whiskey, uh, and I like some of those flavor pieces that are imparted with it. I'm a sucker for wine finishes. So I think if it was me, uh, stupid stupid. Well, I'd say probably a moderately high rye, big malt component to it, and finish that sucker in port. Right. I mean, so I think a port finish is super dope on rye.
And what we gonna name it? We gonna name it Foster's Freezy? What I mean, what's the name of the whiskey, baby? I need to know so I can go market this like now, ASAP.
I'm telling you, I saw it on a shirt once. I put it on a shirt once. That's going to be Rye Felicia. That's what that it is. That's
I am dead. I see.
real.
Austin Foster, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, you cannot make this up. This is Whiskey Wednesday, y'all.
I love
I'd
it.
love
I
to
love
say
it.
that was mine.
I wanted to ask you about the bar you're sitting at. What was the process like of you putting that together, even in your own home? And
So this is the reading room. The reading room is it's actually a name that I've had for a long time. My wife works in the hospital, and she sits in a dark room, and looks at pictures of X-rays all day. So that's called the reading room in the hospital. And for me, I'm a voracious reader, particularly when it comes to spirit or it comes to cocktails or what have you. I love it. And when we're here, we're studying, right? I talked about that educational aspect. So I said, what better name for a space than the reading room? Coming here, moving to South Dakota, there was this weird little alcove in our house that was just nondescript. It was kind of this weird sort of bonus area. And I said, we could probably make that into something kind of cool. So it really started with cutting up. There was some carpet over here, kind of matched up some floor. I'll do a once over with the camera and make everyone dizzy here in a second. But all the cabinets are prefab. These right here are bookcases. Shocker. The bar top that you're on right now, or that the camera's on right now, is a stick of walnut that we found in South Sioux City here. A buddy of mine, Doyle, he knew a guy that knew a guy, and then me and my eldest and him, we lumber milled this live edge that is the walnut top. The bar back here, which I'll show you, is concrete, and we poured that upside down, so there's like reflective glass and black glass in the top of it. And what was kind of cool about that part of it, so I moved back to Iowa because my mom to the area here because my mom passed away, right? So she passed away about closing out on 5 years ago now. So I actually put some of my mom's ashes in each of the slabs to the bar here. So when we kind of poured the slabs. So my mom always thought like I drank too much anyway, so she can keep an eye on me full time now, I figure. And then everything else was kind of prefab, like the cabinets that everything sits on are prefab. But the other really cool piece are these two corbels behind me. and those are actually hand carved out of solid birch. I speak broken English, and there's this guy from St. Petersburg, Russia, that also spoke broken English, and we kind of collaborated on this thing. And he carved these quart bells. I'll get a little bit more of a zoom in on them. You can see all my dust, and I Venmoed him some cash, and then I realized about 3 weeks into this process, I'm like, oh shit, like I basically just funded my own Nigerian prince. And then 3 weeks later, I get a note from Customs in New York saying, hey, you've got this package that arrived. I said, oh, cool, it did arrive. So so some really cool, thoughtful pieces, I think, were kind of put into space here. But it was entirely about the bottle showcase, right? So for me, I view there's not a bottle up here that I can't tell you either where I bought it, why I bought it, or who I drank it with first. And I think that's a critical thing, because this stuff, like I mentioned, it's all gasoline otherwise. It's memories, it's people, it's humans, it's time shared. So that's kind of that was going to be the showcase of it, was the bottles. The bottles were the thing that were going to be completely too many of them, and it's the reason that my wife Sheila is not a huge fan of it. She's like, you need to get rid of like half of them. I said, you don't get it. Like that's the sexy part. So I'll stand up. Do you have any questions about that though? It was kind of a personal process. It was a cool thing.
No, I knew I have, from having had the pleasure of visiting you there.
Yes, you did.
I knew that there was special like moments about that, and especially the moment with your mom being able to watch you drink as much as you wanted was really fun.
yeah, it's kind of cool. I'll if I don't make too many people dizzy, I'll see if I can figure out how to switch this.
We're also combining Home Bars Live right now with this.
This would be the point where Mo invites you on his show, but you've already been there. So.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like,
if
if you guys have seen, any of the past episodes, you get the chance to see both bars, which is
yeah, you can see Illo Hale as
it's a
well.
double treat. But yeah,
so
I mean, like, kind of like what Sheila was saying,
bar.
bro. Like, if you ever need to get rid of any of that stuff, I'll send you my address. You can I can act as another storage unit. I completely can help you out. So just holler at your boy.
I'm telling you, as much consumption as you can take, stop through. Like we had some homies stop through just this last week. A guy named Dan O'Connell, if you know him, out of Chicago, he was driving through with his gal, and they stopped and crashed, and then my buddy Bobby Murphy, who's been in Chicago for a minute, but he went out and opened up Existing Conditions, RIP, when that opened up too in New York. So people come through. It's fun. So bring it.
Done
Merry
deal.
Yeah, that's true. I learned to play Hammer Slayer.
That was a fun night.
So on your journeys, what is like your most memorable bar and experiences you have had overseas, or here? I mean, being in the service, you've traveled, I'm sure, your fair share.
Yeah, tough one, right? I'm better able to probably pick out a favorite child than favorite bar. But like when it comes to, like, I really dug. I had a chance to go over to Greece about 2 years ago, and while there, I went to a bar called Baba Rum, and that place was, it was awesome. It was a cool experience. They did it right. That was a really cool overseas jam. There's a couple of bars in Cork that were just bonkers that I enjoyed. But stateside, I end up being, I'm a sucker for tiki bars, whether the drinks are fantastic or not. I love the spaces. I love the attention to detail. I love the escapism around it. Really have a big crush on Undertow out in Phoenix right now. Super sexy space. Smugglers is a staple when I make it out to Mo's neck of the woods. But we had a cool bar stateside in Milwaukee that was Lucky Joe's Tiki Room, and that was probably one of my favorites. Just all in overall. Really, really dope folks. I got to sling drinks there for a while. Kind of a divey tiki vibe, but the drinks were all like super on point. So that ranks up there. But God, make it out to Mary's area, like great bars out in DC, great experiences. But those are probably a few that I could name, Chris. It's all over the map.
As it should be, right?
Right. It's every space is different. I like places that strive to be different. It's like whiskey, right? A lot of people say, "What's your favorite whiskey?" And it's like, I don't drink for good or bad. I drink for interesting anymore, right? I mean, like there are some things that we kind of learn or that can be objectively good or objectively not good, particularly as it pertains to a category or a type or style. But I like things that, are unique or different. They're like, oh, what's going on here? And that's same way with bars, right? It's like places that make you think, why the hell didn't I think of that shit?
Right. Well, so I got a question for you. You're someone that has definitely tasted his fair amount of spirits, and I think you probably have a pretty decent palate. So for people drinking at home, what are some of your keys in tasting? And do you have any favorite like palate cleansers that you like to use when you're tasting people on stuff?
For me, I would say that the difference between enjoying spirit and evaluating or appreciating spirit is different, right? When you're evaluating spirit or you're really tasting or digging into that space, I kind of have a certain mindset that I go into. I've got a baseline that kind of resets my palate, and that it's different with different spirit, right? For Scotch whiskey, I like Glen Grant 10. I mean, it's nice quality, sort of nondescript space cider, and it sets my mind right and my palate right. For drinking at home, I think it's about finding the things that work for you, right? I've been married for better than 22 years. She's put up with me for 25, right? There's only one thing I have never been wrong at, and that's this. I mean, you can't be wrong at. If it tastes great to you, great. It's awesome. If it sucks, you know what? You're right. It sucks because it's your own personal experience. So yeah, you find something that kind of works for you, but don't be afraid to ask questions about it. I think staples for like a home space, like I think it's important to kind of step into if you wherever you live, know or understand the spirit that is unique to your area, right? And I don't mean like a local distillery inside 100 miles. Do that for sure as well, but here in the U.S., you should understand or you should want to know about American whiskeys. You should want to know about bourbon. We've got a law around it. It can only be made here. So, and there's a lot of variety in that category, right? So I think that's a great place to start. And then think about things that you like to eat. Like when I ask people about cocktails, I'll say, what do you like to drink? And they're like, oh, I don't know, make me something that you like. And then we've all got it, right? And it's all like, oh no, you do not want to drink the bullshit that I do. I drink Monster Energy and white, okay, in the gym, right? I mean, Monster Energy and white. I mean, you do not want that. I mean, but I'll ask him questions about what type of beer do you like? What type of wine do you like if you drink wine? There is like some bleed over, right? Find those things, research, but ask your local establishment, right? A lot of this stuff comes down to building a familiarity, and then you kind of grow from there.
Word.
So we have
Also,
go ahead.
No, I said, also I'm really good at talking a lot and not answering any question. So,
I didn't want to say nothing because we're friends, but I was gonna send you a text afterwards, dog, and be like, I need palate cleansers, man.
Oh shit. I do like coffee though. For smell but I smell myself a lot for like between, that's a pretty good cleanser.
Familiar smell.
But yeah. Reset yourself with your own smell. Yeah.
That's real though.
I didn't even come close to answering that question.
So from our boss, Kyle, on Facebook, he wanted to say it's great to see you here, Austin. We need to find an angle
Love
to
Kyle.
for you to get on the agave sessions, and then we can have our first trifecta of SNS TV shows.
Hell yes.
We can work on that.
When Mo did home bars, like we got into that Vago Bien Picado. That shit is dope.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
Really?
was a fun episode.
Only you and Chris know that.
So for those of you that haven't seen that episode of Home Bars Live, shameless plug, go find it.
And we've been together at a bunch of different camps and seminars and squirreling and all sorts of things. And so in that sense, we've almost like gone to school together. So I'm curious, what is like your dream master class, one you haven't seen at any of these things, something that you would love to see someone come in and just kind of geek out on?
Gosh, everything. Like, you're right. That solid question. I think masterclass. You see, so I've had the opportunity to taste a little bit of spirit and stuff like that over the years, and the more you learn about something, the less you know about anything. And there's so many things that I want to spend time and learn about. I think right now for me, I'd love just a master class on stills, like just demystify everything. I've been eating up every podcast and every sort of online chat about stills and kind of the architecture around them, the types and everything else. I'd love just to dig into that class that's kind of hands-on with it, just working with it. It's little nebulous in terms of what it is, but I think production would be a really cool thing at this point in my journey.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a fun one for sure. I love distillation and just kind of learning and delving into that. It's so neat. Even though, a lot of times it seems like it's the same, there's a lot of different nuances that you don't really know, right? So what is the number one life lesson you have learned in your time? Because we're around the same age, and I can pretty much pinpoint, that one thing that put me over, and I'm like, well, this is really what it's about. You have to live by that, because otherwise you're just a fucking jerk.
Yeah, that's that's so poignant, especially with the kids thing. You kind of work through that. For me, I don't know that I can pinpoint the moment, but kind of just one of those core things to me is treat people well. Like, try to treat people well. That always comes back great. I I think I learned a lot of core things about myself when I went through my time in the military and the Air Force. There was a lot of things that were that kind of you figure out about yourself. Maybe some of those folks figure those things out if they go to college or they start work or what have you. I figured a lot of those things out. But the one thing that's always kind of stayed true, and the thing that I always try to tell my kids is, treat people well, help if you can, and ask for help if you need, and as long as you're treating people well, you're always going to find it.
It's real. So, okay, I guess I'm going to ask you another weird question, because that's kind of like, I think that's kind of like my role here. So first I want to say something. I don't agree with Chris's statement that you guys are within the same age range. You look great. I'm not saying anything about Chris, but I'm saying you look great. And next, I mean, come on. It's a week. Every week I have to take at least one shot at Chris. I mean, come on. But what I wanted to ask you is, so you clearly have had a sandwich before, as I have. What's your perfect sandwich? Like, tell me what you putting on there. You got the pepperoncinis with like the red onions. Like, what's if you're having that last meal sandwich, what's on that sandwich, dog?
We're going deep. We're going deep here. Okay. So I guess I gotta ask a couple more questions about that question.
Okay.
Hot or cold?
See, so here's the parameters, baby. It's your perfect sandwich. So it could be a half hot, half cold sandwich if you want. It could be lukewarm, dog. It's up to you.
Again, this is one of those challenging ones. Like, rank off all of the children in order, but I couldn't from no. So, I'm gonna go Midwest classic. I like a good pork tenderloin sandwich. Comes out looking like an elephant ear on a tiny fucking bun. That with just some pickles and mayo, that's a hard place. That takes me to a place. Obviously, I'm not making that shit at home all the time. But if we are doing it at home, it's going to be a meatball hoagie. Like I'm crushing into that. Stupid amounts of cheese on it too. Yeah, we just want straight hot sandwiches.
But what kind of cheese are you putting on it though? Like, you just going straight American, or you got like a multi cheese? Like, what's your cheese flavor, baby?
You got to start with like a heavy, like underneath the meatballs and the sauce. You got to start with like a nice provolone, get that shit toasty, and then come over top with like a Parm Romano sort of mix. Then you hit it with a little bit more seasoning. That's where it's gonna bang. That's it.
I agree. I will raise my hand and say, whenever you make one, I will take one. That sounds delicious.
If you are not getting that all over yourself, like I'm not allowed to wear like white things because it will be stained immediately.
Nothing wrong with putting balls on your face, dog.
Right. Heard.
I had to see how long we keep a straight face with that one.
I'm about it.
I love it. So are there dishes in your area that are like not to miss, or that you can only find in the tri-state Sioux City area?
There are some local favorites. Lagunitas is a jam. It's late night Mexican food. Like you can go in there, obviously pre-pandemic, like at 2 a.m, line out the door, line around the space, cash only space. That's a cool space. Just really nicely done tacos. There's a space called Miles Inn here local that does a tavern, we call it. It's like basically a loose meat hamburger sandwich with a slice of American on it, and it's served with usually a schooner of beer. So that's the type of fare that you can find pretty handily local. A lot of steak. I mean, we're in the Midwest. That's what we want to eat. There's actually a place, a guy I know runs it now, but it's been in his family forever. It's in Lamar's, Iowa, which is the ice cream capital of the world if you are keeping track at home. It is where Blue Bunny ice cream is made. But there's a steakhouse there named Archie's Wayside. And they do all of their own aging in-house, probably a world-class wine list there. And consistently in some of the top steakhouses in the country, like a town of about 5,000 people, 10,000 people. But it's crushing it. James Beard Award winning in the small sleepy community. So that's another place. Like if you're in my hood, like let's go and eat a monster hunk of meat at Archie's.
I really hope that Kyle who's watching, has taken all of these things down, so he sees that if we do it, we come out there for a team meeting. We now have a place to go for our dinner together. We have a late night taco spot. Like we seem really ready.
Yeah. I mean, Lamar seems like the one place in Iowa that, like, I feel like Lamar was like funded by like my uncle or something. Like, hey, Uncle Lamar, hey man, what's up, dog? Let's go get some steaks. Lamar, Iowa. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that sounds great.
Austin, what have you heard any new artists or music that you think some other people should get on with?
Just in general, man, I will tell you, like, it's all over the map here. I'll tell you sort of this will give you an idea. So my 12-year-old, my daughter, she loves music. And we went to the first record store she ever went to, probably a few months ago. About 3 months ago. I was in Chicago for a thing, and we went in there, and this girl went right to like the Hall & Oates and the Beatles and all that stuff. She picked out her first album ever was Beatles Rubber Soul, and
nice.
then her second album she picked up just this last week was Queen's Greatest Hits.
Nice.
Nice.
So we're raising the kids. I mean, we're doing it out here. A lot of stuff gets rotated in this house. New stuff though. Like shit. Like now I'm drawing a blank.
Don't feel bad. The new stuff ain't that good, dog. Let's live in the time warp. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm a Mayor Hawthorne cat lately. I've been like listening to a lot of Mayor Hawthorne. Just like that updated Motown sound sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. If you like that sound, man, you gotta get on some Leon Bridges.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Leon Bridges,
oh, yeah.
Black Pumas out of Austin, man.
Oh, yeah.
Get some good fun. Yeah, for real.
Yeah, that's good shit. That's good stuff. I did most recent music thing that I had a chance to do a bartending thing at. There's this music festival in Omaha every year. Went down and we did this. There's this tiki dome that was set up. The cat's out at La Colano, so Bradley out there at La Colano. I came down, a cat named Sean Traxler came up, a couple other homies. I don't know that guy. But we ended up attending tiki at a Lizzo concert, which didn't suck.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty dope.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
We were crushed. We were slammed though. We were slammed. Like it was like we got a bottle of Rumple to kind of hide back there, and that didn't happen until like the end. I will tell you that a 3-ounce shot of Rumple will give you diabetes immediately. Like immediately.
Yeah.
It's like
Also,
yeah.
it's also
That's
like,
not all it's going to do immediately.
Yeah, it's 50% alcohol, and it tastes, makes you really minty fresh. So great before dates.
Mary, stop. Stop, Mary. You stop you right there. Austin, we all know. Rumpelmans is, come on, y'all. Come on. Let's be adults here. Okay.
We are.
Anyway, okay, Austin.
You
Yeah,
get to write
I
a
don't
food
get
fair
enough.
ones.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, you know what? We're gonna go there. Let's talk a little bit about camp. Because it's been such an amazing place for a lot of people to come together and get tight and become friends and share a lot of booze stories and fun times. But I think one of the things for me is the idea of community that it kind of builds. And I want to talk to you a little bit about like where you are in your community and kind of how you've seen changes and how you're kind of hopeful for the future with everything going on with COVID.
You know, so I'll say this. So the Elk had been closed down, doing some renovation stuff, trying to, we expanded the kitchen a little bit, we're having a super positive outlook on things, even though we just shut down again last night, or Monday night at midnight. So every space has to close at 10 type thing, and a lot of other restrictions, but we're still doing it. We're still living it. I'm excited for it. I will tell you that people like my friends John and Katie at the bar, amazing bartenders. I think you got 500 different types of bars. You got 500 different types of bartenders. Not all humans are cocktail bartenders, right? And I think cocktail bartending is a thing in itself. Right. I mean, you still have to be a bartender at the core, right? The shit in front of you is more important than the stuff behind you, all that good stuff. But cocktail bartending is different. I'll tell you that I am not even the best bartender at my bar, which is awesome. And that comes from folks that grew up here and have experienced stuff other spaces, but they're just excited about it, passionate about it. We R&D stuff. We just went through fall menu stuff, finished all of that. And that R&D process was flipping amazing. It was great to see people in small town Iowa just putting in the work and doing some cool shit. So I've got a lot of positive thoughts about it. I think you've got to do everyone's got to do everything that much better now, right? You were not only asking people to come out and spend their pennies with you, but you're also asking them to come out and just come out and be in it, right? So I think being worth it, being safe with it, and all of that stuff is critical. But my resolve hasn't diminished. I love this industry. I love the people that make it. And I think that a lot of people have probably changed and pivoted over the course of the last months, which we all need to. You all need to eat. We all need to do stuff. But I think that it's something that we'll come out of. We'll come out of stronger. We'll come out of definitely better business people, right? We've got to figure all that stuff out better, right? So I'm hopeful, right?
Dope. I'm happy to hear that, Papa. So as we're starting to come up on our little end of our hour here, I'll just go around the horn and checking with everyone and see if anyone has any last thoughts that we're going to send out to the